Okay, now for these kinds of problems, it's a little bit different because we're talking about percent error, and also this works for percent increase and decrease. So basically we're kind of looking at this idea of we want to look at the percent is equal to kind of the change over the original is how I tend to think about it. So if we look here, it says Eric's math class had 24 students yesterday. He miscounted the class total and recorded it as 20 students. What is Eric's percent error? So we're looking for the percent error, so that's going to be our variable, and then we're going to have the change over the original. So how much was he off by? What's the difference between these two? So that's going to be 4. And then what is the original, or what was the correct? Sometimes that's also like when we're talking about percent error, the original or the correct one. So how many students were there actually? Well, there were actually 24 students. So we would want to do 4 divided by 24, and when we do that, we get about, 0.16 repeating. Now, in order to make that into a percent, we would want to multiply that by 100, and that gives us about 16.7 when we round. Percent. That's how much off he was. That would be his percent error. Now, if we're talking about percent increase and decrease, it works very similarly, except instead of over the correct amount, it's going to be over the original amount. So here it says Tom's house cost $100,000 in the year 2000. In 2008, he sold his house for $125,000. So the first thing that they're asking us is what was the change in price essentially positive or negative? That just means did it go up or did it go down? Well, it started off at 2000. In 2000 it was 100,000, and in 2008 it was 125,000. So it has increased. So that would be positive. Positive change. It has gone up. Now to find the percent change, we would want to figure out the difference between these. So what's the difference between that? That's going to be 25,000, and then we want to put that over the original, which is the one that came first. So in this case, that would be 100,000. And when you take 25,000 and you divide it by 100,000, you get 0.25, which is the same as 25%. So this would be a 25% increase on the original price. Last for today, we're going to talk about simple interest. And remember, this uses the formula I equals PRT, where I is interest, P is principal, R is rate, and then T is time in years. So here, when we read this, it says Charis invests $140. She earns a simple interest of 3% per year on the initial investment. If no money was added or removed from the investment, what was the amount of interest Charis received at the end of 2 years? Okay, so let's see what we know here. We don't know the interest. We know the principal, her original investment, was $140. The interest rate is 3%. We want to put that as a decimal, so we're going to put 0.03, and then time is going to be 2 years. And again, remember, this time is always in years. Now we want to plug into our formula. So if we have I equals PRT, now we're going to have I equals 140 times 0.03 times 2. And when we get that, we get 8.4. So after 2 years, she earned $8.40 on her investment. That is in addition to the money that she originally invested. That's how much she's earned just for putting her money in the bank.